Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin Alleyne, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, the Cargill Community Project has focused on community building by improving the living conditions of individuals in need of food, healthcare, and employment readiness. We speak with the Vice President of Cargill Community Project to learn more about how they help their community. Then we take a look back at an interview with the newly appointed Executive Director of Inside Broadway to hear what she has planned for this upcoming year. After that, River Spring Living is a nonprofit organization that provides compassionate care and community engagement to seniors in the community. We are joined by their Vice President of Human Resources to learn more about their issues post-COVID. And finally, trash continues to accumulate on many streets and highways in the Bronx. We sit down with the owner from the Bronx and the executive director of the Cortlandt Park Alliance to speak on their ideas that will help clean up the borough. So stay tuned to all this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and today is Tuesday, April 23rd. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. Over the last 8 years, the Cargill Community Project has focused on community building by improving the living conditions of individuals in need of food, healthcare, and employment readiness. Their ultimate goal is to create a community that fosters the growth, development, and support of its people. Vice President Patrick Tyson joins me to discuss the organization and their upcoming events. Patrick, thank you so much for joining me.
It's a pleasure to be here this morning.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about Cargill Community Project and how it began?
Well, our foundation began several years ago out of the need we saw a great influx of people coming into our local restaurant, Cooling Runnings restaurant, and found out that, there was great need for food, in the community. And so we decided that we wanted to, to make this, community more, food, sustainable. So we decided to, do our Thanksgiving dinner that year, the first year, and we served over 2,500 meals. And so we've been going now for the past 15 years.
Wow.
Doing this in the community. And we also have what is called a community give back, and that's in June, where we blocked off the street. It's like a block party, and we give back to the community. We have food and we have fun, live entertainment, and stuff like that. And people have found out this is good because there was a lot of loneliness in the community, and folks were just a little bit depressed because of how life was treating them. And so we thought that this would be a great opportunity to give back to our community. And we decided, someone said to us, hey, why don't you guys make this into a 501c3? And henceforth, Cargill Foundation was born. And we're just loving to do this all the time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, can you talk about the impact? You kind of briefly mentioned it, but what impact has this organization had on the community, and which communities do you serve?
So we serve uptown the Bronx. Well, anyone is welcome. We also service Mount Vernon and other nearby communities, Yonkers. And the impact it has, left on the community is by, giving people, food, also job readiness. We have professionals from different backgrounds come in and train our community on how to, have job readiness, and also, making sure that whatever needs they have are being met through our foundation.
Now, in addition to job readiness and some of the other things that you offer, there's also some board members that serve as mentors. Why was this important to have mentorship available in the community?
Well, mentorship in our community is one of the key component of our foundation in terms of, helping to mentor young minds. I'm a minister by profession, so I we love to mentor young people who have been going through they're troubled youths in our community. And so we have once per month we get together and we have different persons from the community who are professionals in their field come in to talk about mental health, which is now running rampant in our community. And so we decide to do stuff like that, and also teaching young people how to not be so engaged a lot on social media, because that can also be a negative influence on their lives. But it has been going good, and our board members are always excited. Our president, Ms. Keisha Cargill, is always excited to get our mentorship going, and we're having one coming up real soon. And we're looking forward, for all of our young people to come out and be a part of that.
Now, I really also want to touch on the employment readiness opportunities, because that is so important.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this effort, and what does it look like for a participant who is involved in these opportunities?
Well, we have a few persons in our community who comes in to, teach people about how to do interviews, what to wear, what not to wear. And mostly, how to, always have eye contact, because that's important. And because a lot of folks, they want a job, but they're not prepared to get a job because they have never had an interview before. So we have a few persons in our community from human resources, persons who come in and teach our community on how to be job ready to have, a job in our community in whatever field they're embarking on. Yeah.
Now, I think it's so funny that you mentioned that, because when you said interviews, my mind automatically just went to this type of interview.
Right.
But I think it's cool to bring that up, because it is a career path that so many people are interested in. Can you talk about, you mentioned that they can go into any field. So, what are some of the fields that, you see people are interested in kind of following that path?
Well, our vice president, she is a nurse practitioner. So a lot of folks are going into nursing. I'm a broadcaster, so folks are going into broadcasting and the hospitality industry. So we kind of, guide them on that path. So, as to make sure that they're ready to take on those responsibilities, and some of them are going to college for the jobs that they're seeking, especially nursing. We find that we have a lot of folks in our community who wants to be nurses. And also in the food and hospitality industry, which I'm heavily involved. So we kind of guide them on the do's and the don'ts in that area.
Now, what methods does the organization use to empower the youth?
Okay, so we use social media, of course. We also, as I said, have different persons come in different fields to teach them and to guide them. It's not only just to have them their minds ready, but also there are times when we have fun, because kids, they need a little bit of fun now and then.
Right.
Somebody who they can open to and trust to have a conversation with. So we have different counselors from the community and also from our churches that comes in and help to to guide them. Because one of the things I've discovered is that young people want someone who they can trust by sharing, information. And so we make sure whatever information is given to them or to us, it is strictly confidential. So that has helped a lot.
Now, I also want to talk about your mantra or battle cry, and that is everyone deserves the right to thrive. Can you tell us, where this came from, and, what does it mean to your community and how it empowers your community?
Well, so that's a tough one. But in thriving, we all understand that people have different talents. And so they bring those talents into our foundation. And we utilize the talents the best way we can to help them and also help to impact our community. That's what I would put it in a nutshell.
Now, I want to talk about some of the upcoming events that you have, approaching. And one of them is the fish fry event, which sounds like really fun, sounds delicious. Can you tell us a little bit more about that event?
Well, our fish fry is a year-to-year event. We use this as a method to raise funds for our big community event that's going to take place on June 22nd. And so It's a beautiful fish fry. You know, where our culture, we're Caribbean. I'm Jamaican, and so you know people come out to have some escovitch fish or steamed fish, brown stew fish, and so whatever we raise that goes towards our effort, and that's going to be on the 27th of April. And folks can visit our website to get some more information where that is concerned.
Now you mentioned that you're Caribbean and the organization has a lot of Caribbean roots. I think that's such a beautiful thing to hear because it shows that here in the Bronx we have so many different cultures here.
Right.
Can you just talk about the importance of highlighting that that culture within this organization?
Well, the owner of the restaurant, he is Jamaican, and we uptown we have a great our diaspora is a great Caribbean influence, and we invite everyone. So it's not only the Caribbean, but we're open to all people of all walks of life. But where we are located and strategically located is a lot of Caribbean folks in the neighborhood, and so we encourage them to be a part of us. And when they do come in great numbers, and we love that. No one is left behind.
Now, I want to learn a little bit more about some of the past events your organization has hosted. So do you have any fond memories of, some events in the past that you held that were just really amazing?
Absolutely. One of the biggest events that I love is the Thanksgiving dinner that we host on Thanksgiving Day. I normally used to go back to Georgia for Thanksgiving, but I kind of put that on hold so I can be of service to my community, because I believe volunteerism is one of the keys that unlock the door to helping humanity. And so when I see this past year has gone, the line that we had wrapped around the building, and we served the shelters. We do some of the homeless shelters. We do nursing homes, folks that are shut in, and to them alone we send out about 1,500 meals, and then the folks who come, is about another 1,000. So it's always good. And that's I get excited about Thanksgiving, to prepare the food and see the smiles on folks, their faces when they receive a meal, and we turn no one away.
Now, what are your hopes for the future of this organization?
Well, our hope is to grow more and to spread our wings in the community and to reach out to all different backgrounds of people, and to bring more. One of the things that we're trying to embark on now is teaching young people how to cook and having them ready for, not only, the professional world, but at home, because some folks don't know how to cook.
I'm one of them.
The owner of the restaurant, Mr. Wendell Cargill, he is preparing now to because he's a chef by trade, to bring some of our executive chefs in to train young people on how to cook and how to have meals ready. Yeah.
Well, this is amazing. I love what your organization is doing, especially here in the Bronx. And I want to thank you, for joining us and sharing a little bit about your community and the work that you do. So thank you so much.
Indeed, it's a pleasure of mine. Thank you so much.
To learn more about Patrick's organization and their upcoming fish fry event, please go to their website at www.cargillcommunityproject.org. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Open after this.
only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit bronxnet.org to learn more.
Welcome back. We wanted to take a look back at an interview with Katie McAllister, who was recently appointed as Executive Director for Inside Broadway, about all of her new ideas for this upcoming year. Let's take a look. Now, what is Inside Broadway and its overall mission?
So Inside Broadway is a New York City-based children's theater. We provide arts and education programming in all 5 boroughs. We serve about 75,000 children a year in about 110 schools. We do an equity tour, so a professional live tour, theater tour goes into schools. We also do hands-on experiential theater programs in Shakespeare, build a musical. We do social emotional learning. We turn books into musicals. And we also have a Creating the Magic program, which is a connection to Broadway, where we show students all the wonderful careers available to them on the Broadway stage.
Now, already I love the program because I wish I was like a Broadway kid. So hearing this and seeing how this is just available to students is just so exciting to hear. I also want to mention the fact that the nonprofit is celebrating over 40 years of introducing Broadway to New York City public school students, which is amazing. Can you just talk about, the importance of bridging the gap between Broadway theater and New York City public schools?
Well, it's incredibly important. I mean, Broadway is New York. People come to New York to see a Broadway show. And 41 years ago, my boss, our president and CEO, Michael Presser, he was working with the Schubert organization. And Cats was coming to Broadway. And he went to them and said, it's incredibly amazing to him that Broadway doesn't offer free tickets. So he went to the Schuberts, who then went to Really Useful, which was Andrew Lloyd Webber and company, and they donated 50 seats to Cats from the very beginning until it ended 18 and a half years ago, or 18 and a half years later. So students got to see a Broadway show every Wednesday matinee. And so that gave them connection. That began Inside Broadway's deep connection with Broadway. And we started a bunch of programs with them so that we could have students know that Broadway is there. Because if you live in the Bronx, it's a whole nother world, and you don't know Broadway is even there.
Right. I definitely love just the fact that you point that out, because this is our city, but when you live in a certain borough and you come from a certain background, it does feel like another world. And so that's why I think it's so amazing that this is happening. Now, I also want to say that the celebration continues as you take on the role of Executive Director. Congratulations on that. What does this achievement mean to you?
I just feel so honored, and it's amazing. I've been with Inside Broadway for 32 years, and I started actually as a teaching artist, and then became program director, and then from there became executive director. So I feel like Inside Broadway is just a part of me, and I'm really proud of our work, and it's an amazing feeling. And I hope to push the programs forward and the organization forward in the future.
Now, as you mentioned, you were a program director for over 17 years. What did you gain from that experience that will assist you on this new journey?
It really gave me a deep connection to our schools. I know all of our principals. My colleagues are always amazed because I'll say, oh, that's Mrs. So-and-so. And they'll be like, how do you know that off the top of your head? I was like, well, after many years. But having that entrenched knowing what's going on in our schools, knowing how programs work, I feel it will make me a stronger executive director because I will understand everyone. I understand our teaching artists, I understand our schools, I understand my staff, and so putting that all together, I think that coming from the program director side, it gives me a different viewpoint than a regular executive director might have.
Now, what drew you to working with children and in the overall world of theater?
So growing up, my mom loved movie musicals, and so we would sit and watch movie musicals. I did not see a Broadway show until I was 18 years old and came to New York. But I always loved musical theater, so in college I had a double major, and so that was what I did was musical theater and education. And then for children, I knew what theater did for me, and being that outside kid that wasn't cool and didn't really do sports, and so I can have that viewpoint. And so it's important for me to have students be able to have their creativity come to the forefront, have who they are come to the forefront, and really just have that experience. Because when, like reading a book, theater lets you walk in someone else's life, and it shows you a different viewpoint of the world, and it lets you then inform yourself, and it builds bridges and it builds empathy, and so it has all these incredible things. So to me, that's why it's so important.
Now, as a Bronx resident, and we're here in the Bronx, so definitely want to shout that out, how have you seen the access to the arts pretty much just be overall kind of lacking in the borough?
So, it's hard to get in, it's hard for schools to have access. There's so much emphasis on testing, and then there's the funding component. And then there's just what do you want to do as a school, or what do you want to do as a community? And so I see things are opening up now. The Department of Education is putting a little bit more money into arts funding. Our city council puts a lot of money into arts funding, which really is a game changer. And also for programs to have that relationship and to bring arts into a school, it changes the whole community of the school. And also having our connection to Broadway, with our Creating the Magic program, our students actually get to go to Broadway and they get to see what's happening there. So things are opening up, they're changing. It's slow, I'd like it to go fast, but I do believe, and I'm very hopeful for the future that it will be.
Now, you mentioned Creating the Magic, which is a beautiful title. I just want to add, can you talk a little bit more about that program and how it just opens up a new world to so many of these students?
So Creating the Magic started years ago. We actually started with taking Broadway shows into schools with a few of the performers, and they would perform for the students and they could have a talk back. And then from there it grew, and it was like, well, what if we could show them all of the other magic? So I like to call it a backstage pass to a Broadway show. So they come in, they see performances by the actors, but then we show them something that even if you've seen 50 Broadway shows, you've never seen. We show you how everything works. So techs come out and technicians come out and they give demonstrations of the lighting and the sound, puppetry. We've partnered with Wicked and Moulin Rouge, Dear Evan Hansen. We have a Creating the Magic coming up in next week, and it's really exciting because students come in wanting to be an actor and they leave wanting to be like a hairdresser, or they want to be a costume designer or a music director because they see that it's a possibility.
Now, what are the long-term positive effects of participating, of children participating in these art-based programs?
Well, it builds self-esteem, it builds community, it builds language acquisition. And it just makes you, as I was saying before, that it lets you walk in someone else's shoes. So that long-term effect of seeing somebody else's life informs your life, and it helps you to better understand, and in our world, we don't really build community anymore. We're online all the time. We're texting and things like that. So I think that theater really helps us to not only understand the world around us, but have a better understanding of ourselves. And so that's the long-term impact.
Now, I definitely want to talk about representation since we are talking about New York City public schools. How does this experience ensure that children in these areas feel represented in the theater and the arts? And I will say, just from my own experience, I do feel like theater is a very inclusive and a space that does value representation. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that and how that works and how you ensure that with the children that you work with.
Well, theater is inclusive because people say, oh, they're a theater nerd, so it's like everyone is accepted. And at Inside Broadway, I'm really proud of our programs. I'm really proud of our teaching artists. They are diverse backgrounds. They are diverse people. They look different. They have different thoughts. And that's important because for a child to be able to connect to someone, I always say to my staff, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And so connecting to an artist and having the same thoughts or the same ideas with someone, but it's important for them to have that, and it brings out in them like just an amazing thing. And so, I think that it's important to be inclusive. Our programs are also including our D75, our students with disabilities. We also do senior citizens that come into our programs, and so everybody is welcome. We do 3K to 90. So
and I love that because I think that so many people realize that they love the theater and the arts sometimes later in life, and I love that there's a space for everyone. The organization has been doing so many amazing things for such a long time. What do you hope to see for the future of Inside Broadway?
I really want us to be able to expand even more. I want our programs to expand even more. I want to be able to provide services for everyone. I would love to see a funding stream opened up, either from our federal government, our state, and our city, that really provides access for everyone, that makes sure that there's funds out there so that everyone can experience the arts and can have an enriching experience and have that inform their life. And so for me, it's like, more. Let's just have more for everyone.
Now, can you quickly let us know how can organizations or schools collaborate with Inside Broadway?
Sure. They can reach us at www.insidebroadway.org. They can also go to our Facebook page. We're also on Instagram, and so they can reach out at any time. And we are also a DOE vendor, so if they're a school, they can contact us.
Well, I want to say congratulations once again on the new title, and thank you so much for joining us and talking a little bit more about Inside Broadway.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you would like to learn more about Inside Broadway, please go to their website at www.insidebroadway.org. Thank you to Katie and the team at Inside Broadway for making this interview happen. Stay tuned, we have more open for you right after this.
I remember when the Bronx did not really have a media outlet properly representing the people of the Bronx.
BronxNet provides for the community by being a community where people can be empowered to share their voices.
We are in a really great place technologically. We've got all the resources that we need to be effective.
Whether it's through cameras, storytelling, editing, we have provided those services for 30 years.
BronxNet's mission is to be a voice for the community.
To educate, to inform, and to inspire.
And you can be a part of it. We've built studios for you.
Thank you, BronxNet. Congratulations on 30 years. What an amazing accomplishment. On behalf of myself, Alina Dow, and I represent the Dow Twins and the Dow Twins Show, who are young producers. They started, I think, when they were 11, and now they're 14. They started making 30-second little fun facts, and now they are doing 30-minute shows. And it goes to a testament of how much you guys do in the Bronx to make young people want to continue to be involved. I wish you 30 more amazing years and beyond. Thank you for what you do.
Welcome back. River Spring Living is a nonprofit organization that provides compassionate care and community engagement to seniors in the community. Although guided by Jewish values, the organization supports seniors of all faiths. Their overall mission is to help older adults live full and meaningful lives. JoAnne DeVito, the Vice President of Human Resources, will join me to discuss their mission in more detail. JoAnne, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about River Spring Living and its mission?
Sure, of course. River Spring Living is a geriatric organization that provides care to our older adults in the community. We have a wide variety of services and care products that we assist with residents living in the community to keep them in the community, as well as programs that are directed towards our needs as we all grow older, which we all are getting there, towards looking at care in the future. So we have our nursing home component, which is the renowned Hebrew Home at Riverdale. We have our assisted living program, which we just opened up a beautiful state-of-the-art building, which has private apartments, which provide care as well as memory care. We have our licensed home care services agency, so that provides home health aides to go to people's homes to keep them safe and in their home and provide the cares and support that they need. We also have our managed long-term care insurance program, which is our community Medicaid component. And we're very excited now that we're going to be breaking ground very shortly for the first life plan retirement community in New York City, which is also known as a CCRC, if you've heard of that, which is a continuing care retirement community.
Oh, wow.
So we have a variety and diversified areas of support and services that we provide to the older adults in New York.
Well, you're accomplishing so many things, and I just want to say congratulations on that. This is amazing work, and I love that there's an effort to, support, the older adults in our communities. I want to touch on the fact that there were, of course, as with many organizations, challenges during COVID-19, and there was an article by New York One that talked a little bit about the challenges that nursing homes face post-COVID. What specific challenges has your organization encountered during that time?
Sure. Well, during COVID itself, it affected everybody in the world. Our community and our healthcare systems had to literally redesign themselves and recreate themselves daily to meet the needs of what we had to do to get through it. Our organization was no different. We have areas where, we had visitors and families that were not able to come in to see our residents. So we had to be very creative in ways to keep our residents engaged, keep our residents connected to their families as well. So we did many different things, and some of the things that just come to mind are we created activities such as Good Morning Hebrew Home, which is our again our renowned nursing home, a part of River Spring Living. But Good Morning Hebrew Home was kind of a template from Good Morning America. So we did a news program in the morning, trivia, weather. We had guest stars of our own employees talking about various topics. And that was piped in through our internal TV network. We also had, we were the first to create a drive-by visit during the COVID pandemic, where residents would be able to come to a glass atrium area. Family members would be able to drive by in their car, and we gave each component walkie-talkies. So they were able to visit with each other. Many folks got to see their first great and great-grandchildren and grandchildren for the first time that way. So we really had to redesign as we went along. And the most challenging thing, of course, as we went through the COVID pandemic was the challenge of staffing. Staffing was, always a concern to us because folks were not only balancing their own needs at home with their children being, Zoom educated and such, but staff being with us. And our staff were absolutely amazing. You talk about heroes. I can't talk enough about the commitment of our staff. They showed up every day. And not only the clinical staff, but all staff in different departments, human resources, finance, everybody was lending a helping hand to make that happen. So literally you learned from everything, but we had to think on our feet, and we were very proud of that because the team worked cohesively to get great ideas to keep that level of quality of care and engagement while we all had to go through this pandemic.
And I love to hear, some of the engagement efforts, like the Good Morning America style, that's like so fun. And I love to see that because that's something that I think every community, regardless of age or background, needs that engagement because so many of us were dealing with loneliness or dealing with, not feeling connected. So I think that's so important.
I mean, some of our nursing staff literally took the time with their own iPhones to sit with families and residents and have FaceTime visits because they weren't able to physically come in.
Wow.
So it was a lot of giving of yourself at the time, which made it wonderful for everybody.
Now, in addition to that, what were some methods River Spring Living implemented to ensure the safety and the health of residents and staff members during this time?
Absolutely. I mean, just in general, we were very blessed. We had PPE, we had masks, we had everything that we needed. But we had to look at a lot of the basic things that we did every day as to how could we redesign it to keep everything going. So we had to change our dining experience slightly. We had to put tables further apart. We had to have residents sit close but not too close to one another. We had to do activities in different fashions, either in smaller groups so we could space people out. So we all had to make concessions for it, but we kept up the lifestyle that we wanted the residents and our community residents as well to have.
Now, I thought this was very interesting, and I'm so glad to, I was happy to bring it up. I understand that River Spring is guided by Jewish values. In what ways has the organization's Jewish values influenced your approach to care?
We are guided by Jewish values, and primarily what we do for all of our older adults is God's work. So that is our focus as to how are we going to be caring for that person and keeping them in a safe space with respect and dignity as they go into their sometimes final journey of their lifetime. But we are a non-sectarian facility. We have various religious beliefs in our organization. We're highly diversified. So we have all different kinds of religious events and ceremonies and keeping everybody connected and included. The inclusiveness of being a community that is under religious values is very important to us.
Now, we talked a little bit about technology in ways, with the phones and how we're able to communicate. In what ways is River Spring Living leveraging technology to enhance care delivery? And we already talked about communication, but can you talk a little bit about care delivery?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've always been on the cutting edge at River Spring Living, and we're very proud of that. We recently received a very generous grant from the Hauser Foundation, a technology grant, which has helped us implement new technology in our delivery of care services. So one aspect is in our short-term rehab division, which is an amazing location for people to come to take rehab needs, PT, OT, et cetera, to get themselves home. We have a piece of equipment called a zero gravity harness, which a person who cannot be weight-bearing can be placed in the harness and be able to walk without the fear of falling. And it actually improves their recovery time because they can get their gait proper as they're walking. We have just implemented a new call bell system where the clinical staff have iPhones. So instead of having to go to a room to push off the call bell and find out what the residents' needs are, all of the residents can speak to the resident, all of our nursing staff, can speak to the resident immediately to find out what their need is and let them know they'll be able to respond. And if for some reason they're caring for somebody else and they can't get away quick enough, they're able to contact a coworker and say, can you please assist at another location? The other thing that we've just recently implemented, which we're really excited about, is it's called Tasteful Textures. And this is part of our dining program, where those residents who have swallowing issues, where they may need a pureed consistency of food, Tasteful Textures actually is piping the food and creating a plate that looks like spaghetti and meatballs, looks like, meatloaf and green beans. And we all eat with our eyes. So for those folks, to help them engage in eating more, to keep their weight up and enjoying their food, by seeing this beautiful plate, it enhances the dining experience. So we're trying all the time to use different types of technology and techniques to ensure that the care that we're giving is, above and beyond.
And that's really cool. I've never heard about that anywhere else. So it's really cool to hear that right now.
It's
that's amazing. It's very futuristic. So it's exciting to hear. Now, how does River Spring Living plan to adapt and evolve to meet the changing needs and expectations of older adults, ensuring a high standard of care and support for residents?
Sure. Well, right at this time, one of our biggest focuses, of course, is making sure that our staff are well trained and that we have the level of staff that we need regarding the future of care. Okay, we are getting into technology, so folks are being educated on technology, but we want to ensure that our staff are also trained. So what we're doing is we have different in-house programs regarding the technology that's coming out and training the staff. We are also, looking at the healthcare shortage in general. We want to ensure that we have staff that are within the realms of the needs that we have regarding like nursing staff and CNA staff. We actually just opened up our own CNA training school, the Hebrew Home at Riverdale CNA Training School. And that is bringing in new staff to us, whereby these are folks that they're in the community, maybe never even thought about healthcare opportunities. So they're able to bring in classes. We just had our first class of 9 students, and all 9 students passed and became certified nurses aides. So we now have new staff on our teams. So those kinds of things are important. We are also always looking at what are the needs of the geriatric population. And this is why we've just opened up our assisted living program. This is the next step. Folks that are looking towards retirement are now looking at our life plan community. So these are the things that we've been designing and enhancing so that we can meet the needs of the older adults.
Well, JoAnne, I want to thank you so much for joining us and talking a little bit more about this organization and the wonderful work they do to support the older adults in our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
To learn more about the services that River Spring Living offers, please go to their website at www.riverspring.org. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open after this.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Kat from the Kitty Rose Lifestyle, also from The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray every week right here at BronxNet, Saturdays at 11 p.m. Wow, 30 years. 30 years of BronxNet public access television. I'm a girl from Brooklyn and came to the Bronx 25 years ago, started my journey on BronxNet on public access television in 2016, and BronxNet is where I got my start. BronxNet, I feel like, is a home away from home. They support all of my endeavors, and I wouldn't have been able to be on any of the other channels if it wasn't for the fundamentals that I learned right here at my start here at BronxNet. So I am so appreciative. My son says I should stop telling people I'm from Brooklyn because I've been here now, Bronx Strong, for 22 years. So I'm so grateful, and I wish you much success in 30 years, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30 more, because public access is necessary so that people like myself can have a voice. Yes, BronxNet, it's your girl Kat from Kitty Rose. Check me out every Saturday at 11 p.m. right here, Channel 68, The Next Chapter, where we discuss shades of gray. Mwah.
Welcome back. Trash continues to accumulate on many streets and highways in the Bronx. There are very few trash cans available, and the ones that exist quickly overflow. To address this issue, Anthony Ramirez II, owner of the Bronx Beer Hall and from the Bronx, and Stephanie Ehrlich, the executive director for the Van Cortlandt Park Alliance, join me to discuss possible solutions. I want to thank you both so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Now, as I mentioned, many residents have noticed the lack of trash cans on, streets in the Bronx. Is this a common issue for most boroughs in New York City, or is this something that the Bronx faces at a much higher rate?
It's interesting. I think that just as someone who comes from a park background, what we notice is that there aren't a lot of trash cans throughout the park. But it's not so much the number of trash cans that concerns me. I know you want more trash cans.
Always.
But, I think for me, what I'd like to see is people creating less trash.
Okay, and then can you expand on, I know you want more, so can you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, first of all, that's an excellent point, right? If we could create less trash, we need less trash cans. But, I think when I was first contacted about this report to share an idea, my immediate thought was I wanted to focus on something that was immediately actionable, right? So something we can get started tomorrow without having to go through any bureaucratic red tape. And so when I start thinking about cleanliness and the Bronx, to your point, it's not that we need more trash cans because it'll give people the incentive to throw their trash where it needs to go, but it's creating that culture of cleanliness where, you're supposed to put your trash in the trash can. You're supposed to pick up after your dog, right? You're not supposed to throw things out the car window or onto the sidewalk. And, it's community responsibility, and it's, in collaboration with city leaders, but it has to come from us.
Now, I want to expand on the idea behind a culture of cleanliness. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, first, I love alliteration. so culture of cleanliness, I was like, we have to get that in there.
I love it.
And, I'm just looking at my notes, but it really refers to shared values, attitudes, and behaviors within our community, within the Bronx, around cleanliness, around environmental stewardship, right? So we deserve to live in a clean environment, and we should all want to live in a clean environment. And it's, ingraining that in our culture, in the way we behave, in the way we interact with. When I say environment, it's not just parks, right? I love parks, and the Bronx has the most parks of any borough, right? The most parkland of any borough. But it's our streets, it's our neighborhoods, it's our restaurants, it's our sidewalks. Like, we should, if you see something, say something, right? If you see someone throw something down, say, oh, I think you dropped this. Right? Or if you don't want to talk to someone, pick it up and throw it away instead of making a comment and saying, I can't believe they did that. It's on all of us to keep our streets clean, to keep our community clean.
I love that. I love the sort of shared responsibility, because I think about personal responsibility, right? Like, I would be mortified to throw trash out my car window. Like, I would never do such a thing.
Absolutely.
But if someone else does it, it isn't about pointing a finger. It's about, you know what, I'm going to pick that up. I'm going to help, because it's a community culture of cleanliness.
Now, something that I've learned quite some time ago that I want to bring up again is that, in regards to COVID-19, there were budget cuts when it came to sanitation. How much is that impacting our community and, kind of in response to what we're seeing now in regards to trash on our streets?
I mean, I would say that there are budget cuts that are affecting all of us. So it's not just the Department of Sanitation. I would say it's all city agencies have received budget cuts. The Parks Department really bearing the brunt of that. And so it makes it very, very difficult to do the cleaning. So when there are such severe budget cuts, that means that there's a cut in the workforce. So if there's a hiring freeze, for instance, we're not able to hire more people to pick up the trash. But one of the things that I was thinking about is, with a culture of cleanliness, personal responsibility, and volunteering, if you are picking up the trash, that allows the folks who are working to do other things, right? So if there isn't as much litter to pick up, that means that the folks who are painting fences can get to that work. If they're repairing restrooms, they can do that. They can keep the bathrooms open and clean. Right. So that's people doing their part will allow city workers to do their part.
Now, Anthony, you believe the solution requires a collaborative effort. Can you tell me a little bit more about that effort?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier, and as Stephanie just pointed out, right, it takes all of us, right? It takes a village, not to be cliche, but if we are doing our part to keep our neighborhoods clean, if we are teaching young people to have pride in their communities, if we're calling out our friends and our fellow residents, then we're all working together to make our neighborhoods more beautiful and to keep our neighborhoods clean. And that collaboration, like you said, it's not, I know there were budget cuts, as you mentioned, but if we sit around and wait for the government to do it for us, right, it's not going to happen. It's on us. We tell the government. They work for us, right? That's what they say. So the government's working for us, then we have to show them what we want, and we have to show them why we want it. And I think that a big part of it is, when I say community, it's not just residents, right? It's our local businesses, both for-profit and nonprofit, that are also encouraging not only employees, but all of the people that they interact with to take care of and care for their neighborhoods. And once we do that ourselves, then we start speaking to our elected representatives to say, this is what we need here. You know what? We are picking up after ourselves and throwing things away, but we realize we're lacking trash cans, right? They just don't exist. I'm carrying it home because I don't want to throw it in the street, right?
Yeah.
If you're a good person. If you're a terrible person, you're throwing it in the street. I said it. I think a lot about, and I forget who coined the term, but there are a lot of pooper traders. And I think COVID-19, people went out and got animals, got dogs because they were home alone and they wanted some companionship. But for some reason, they missed the class on picking up after their dogs, right? So, we have to be really mindful of, yes, it's poop, but you have to pick it up and you have to dispose of it. Otherwise, I have to dodge a whole lot of it on my way to the subway.
Now, I also want to touch on the fact that you mentioned how it is a community effort. And I guess from my own personal experience, I have noticed how people will create their own trash cans, and tie it to the tree, and those would get filled pretty quickly. So, it seems that people are trying, and maybe they just don't have enough resources to, keep up with it. What tools do you think are needed so that people in the community can kind of take charge in helping keeping their communities cleaner?
So I think that's an excellent point, right? When someone makes a space available, the space is used, right? And it's about making it the right space. And I remember your point was that, you've seen, and I've seen it too, around the Bronx, not just around the Bronx, but we're talking about the Bronx, right? Around the Bronx, if someone puts garbage on a street corner, it's inevitable that other people will start piling their garbage on top of that street corner. On my way here today, I saw one of the old FDNY call boxes, and the front was missing, and it was full of coffee cans, and because people were just shoving their garbage in there, which means they don't want to throw it in the street, right?
Right.
But where are their options? And which is why I, out of all the brilliant ideas in this report, I really focused on trash cans. Someone made fun of me the other day when I said, they're like, you said trash cans? That's all you came up with? It's more than that, right? It is this culture of cleanliness, because if you give people the opportunity to do the right thing, they will do the right thing.
Now, Stephanie, can you talk about the issue of dumping in the borough? Because I know that kind of goes a little bit beyond just like throwing, some trash around, around the city.
So actually, we've seen a real rise in people dumping really large things all around, specifically on park perimeters, also along highways. People, they throw things out the windows of their cars, but you'd be surprised to see that people take bags of garbage and just leave them on the side of the road. They're throwing away tires, and not just like one tire, but 50 tires. It's really, really intense. Mattresses, furniture. And what winds up happening is that depending on where it's located, sometimes the Parks Department will, the staff will pick it up, Department of Sanitation will pick it up, Department of Transportation, there are all of these different entities, but quite honestly, whose responsibility is it? Because there are so many different outdoor locations in the Bronx that, and throughout the city, that it's kind of hard to determine whose property is that? Does it belong to parks? Does it belong to transportation? Does it belong to DEP? So one of the thoughts that I had is that there really does need to be a comprehensive mapping of the city to sort of determine who's responsible for what. And the mayor's office actually created a new role. There is a chief officer of the public realm. And so the public realm kind of covers these areas that are not specifically parks, not specifically NYCHA, but like these sort of little in-between places. And I think with her guidance, with political support, I think that mapping could really be very, very valuable.
I think it's an excellent point. I just want to add on to that. I think that also, it'd be great to see a map of where you could dispose of certain things, right? I feel like we're all told to recycle, recycle, recycle.
Where?
Right. Where does it go? What's recyclable, right?
When?
Where can I throw this out? And we're learning that, through all the reports coming out, 8% of what's, something like that, 8% of what is being sent out for recycling is actually recyclable in terms of plastic. So, and when you don't know where to put your 400 tires, right? or your broken Xbox, for example, it's not recyclable. Do you throw it in trash? You don't want to get a fine. You don't want to deal with your trash not being picked up because then you have to bring it back inside. So, unfortunately, some people say, I'm just going to go dump it on the side of the road, and
somebody will deal with it.
Right.
That is exactly right, and someone will deal with it, right?
So, if there's a map, if there's a calendar of dates, I know that Orchard Beach does have some collection dates for items that can't be thrown in trash and can't be recycled, but they're not as frequent as they should be. And again, it's not as clear as what they can take, because I've gone there and they said, nope, take that home, because that's not for the landfill or wherever it's going. So in addition to a map, to that map, I think there should also be a calendar or map that shows where I can dispose of things and what things are actually disposable.
Now, where can people go to learn more about these efforts or support this? Because, we're not the only ones who are thinking this. There's so many people in the Bronx who feel the same way. So where can people go to learn more?
Well, for helping out and keeping the park clean, they can come to our website, Van Cortlandt Park Alliance, which is vancortlandt.org, but also you can follow us on social media, and that's VCP Alliance. We do lots and lots of cleanup activities throughout the year in all different places, in the woods, in water bodies. It's really fun, so we want people to come and participate in that.
And
first of all, I like that cleaning is fun, right? That's a good thing. It is a good thing. And it also gets you connected to people in your community.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
If for some reason you can't go to Van Cortlandt Park, then go to another park, right? Start your own cleanup group. But, in terms of what I do, as you mentioned at the beginning, I own several businesses with a mission to improve the image of the Bronx. So from the Bronx, we create and sell Bronx-themed merchandise. The Bronx Beer Hall, we're a community gathering space. Don't bring us your garbage. I can't help with that, right? But we can help in connecting you to other organizations that are doing work in the borough. And, as Stephanie mentioned, reach out to Van Cortlandt, reach out to Pelham Bay Park, reach out to Crotona. Every park has a Friends of something or an alliance,
Absolutely.
Right? So if you care, join them all.
Right. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining me and having this conversation. It really is something that is close to me as somebody who lives in the Bronx and who feels exactly the same way. So once again, thank you both so much for joining me.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
If you would like to learn more about Anthony and Stephanie's organization, please go to their websites, which are on the screen below. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.